As the sun set behind the dense forest, the small town of Pineview was cast into an eerie darkness. The only light came from the flickering street lamps that lined the main road, casting long shadows across the cracked sidewalks. The air was thick with anticipation, and the townspeople could feel a sense of unease settle in their bones. It was said that on this very night, every 15 years, the spirit of a young girl would emerge from the woods and sacrifice 5 people to the gods of the forest. The legend had been passed down from generation to generation, and nobody knew how it began or who the girl was. But every 15 years, the townspeople braced themselves for the inevitable. As the clock struck midnight, a group of teenagers sneaked out of their homes and made their way to the edge of the forest. They were young and foolish, convinced that the legend was nothing more than an old wives' tale. They laughed and joked, daring each other to venture further into the woods. But as they stepped into the trees, they felt a chill run down their spines. The woods were eerily quiet, and the only sound was the rustling of leaves underfoot. As they walked deeper into the forest, the air grew colder, and a thick fog descended around them. Suddenly, they heard a faint whisper on the wind, a voice that seemed to be calling their names. The teenagers turned to run back to the safety of Pineview, but it was too late. The darkness seemed to swallow them whole, and they were snatched from the shadows one by one, dragged screaming into the abyss by an unseen force. Their screams echoed through the trees, chilling the bones of those who dared to listen. The woods themselves seemed to come alive, closing in on the hapless victims like a living organism. The trees twisted and contorted, their branches reaching out like gnarled fingers, ready to claim their next sacrifice. The last survivor stumbled out of the woods just as dawn was breaking. His clothes were torn, his face was pale, and his eyes were haunted by the horrors he had witnessed. He collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath. He told the townspeople what had happened in the woods, and they knew that the legend had come true once again. The spirit of the girl had claimed her 5 sacrifices, and the forest was once again at peace. But the people of Pineview knew that their respite would be short-lived. For they knew that the spirit of the girl would always return, hungry for her next sacrifice. They knew that they would never be safe as long as the forest stood, and that the darkness would always claim those foolish enough to venture into its depths. And so, they locked their doors and shuttered their windows, hoping to keep the spirit of the girl at bay. But they knew that it was only a matter of time before the legend would repeat itself, and the town of Pineview would once again be cast into darkness.